I was thinking to myself, has this ever happened in history where artists have had such just no gatekeepers, an open platform where they can credibly put their art and just let the free market and have an audience of people of collectors who are willing to buy their art like this? I'm not sure if it's ever quite happened like this. Welcome back, everyone. Artist Journal, January 23rd, 2023, broadcasting from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and I'm just wondering to myself, because I see a Niagara Falls. I've called it a Cambrian explosion. We could call it a Niagara Falls of creativity pouring out of my computer screen here. It is astonishing. Okay, and what's also interesting is, I started going to galleries again, and I just want to get back to my object, website, during that night. And even my Twitter, my friendly Twitter, you know what I mean? So it's a great situation we have here, and hopefully this is just the beginning, but you have to really be grateful for every single day that this sort of situation exists. Okay, so that's just my opinion. Welcome back. Here's Ezra Eslin, a classic artist I think she started on Tezos, but I'm not positive about that. She's multi-chain and has collectors on Ethereum. She put out this really interesting work here, which is kind of ambiguous. I mean, you have a woman who has a phone in her hand and she seems to be taking a selfie, but you can't actually tell. It is ambiguous. Maybe she's taking your picture, dear viewer. And I also really enjoyed how the Apple logo is actually a heart, and it's right where the heart of the of the photographer is, of the woman in the picture. So all sorts of interesting things going on here, and bizarre colors like this kind of purple and then the yellow nail polish, and you wonder what that means. And again, these are complementary colors, and then the strong red in the background, and look at the crop and even the shiny lips, which I actually think that's quite brilliant. The shiny jewels and the shiny nail polish. So even getting the shine in there, so a very modern image. Again, this is a 2023 image here, maybe 2022 with the phone, right? So Ezra Eslin, interesting title too, which is maybe a bit of a clue, Cold Heart. Okay, so again, we're back to this heart, and the person is wearing kind of cool colors here, and again, kind of the red of a heart in the background here. So just really interesting decisions. 5,000 by 5,000 pixels, a pretty big image too. So super interesting work. And this ambiguity here of whether it's a selfie or a photograph, I brought up this image here. This is like your classic. It reminded me of this Edouard Manet. And I can't remember the name of this painting, but it almost requires no name. But this is like a classic painting of ambiguity. So here you see the bartender, and you see in the background here, this kind of looks like a mirror, right? And that maybe this is the crowd that is in front of the bartender. But really, we don't know that. And we can't tell if this figure is her. It actually doesn't look like it's her, but you're not positive on it. So maybe, in fact, there is no mirror here, and we're actually just looking over onto the other side of the room, and this bar is in the middle. So for me, this is kind of like one of the classic paintings of ambiguity. And I'd argue we see a similar ambiguity here, I dare say, okay, of a different nature. But again, we don't know what's going on here. And ambiguity, I mean, in terms of poetry, that is one of the great techniques, for lack of a better term, to employ. It creates this uncertainty, the uncertainty of life. I mean, Shakespeare is full of ambiguity, double meanings, double entendre. Right? So it's kind of the visual equivalent of a pun. Okay? Let's say. So anyways, interesting work. Here's Ezra Eslin. And again, one of these artists who, you see, pretty nice prices. I put price high to low here. again, one of these kind of classic Tezos artists who you can't get too many of their works too cheap right now. Has a nice collection here of 3. I mean, the cheapest, let's just go low to high. And kind of, when we know Ezra Eslin from all these kind of dark works of kind of fire and murder, basically. This is one of the classics here that I remember. Like, I mean, an edition of 129 selling for $24.69. I think I picked up this McDonald's a couple of weeks ago, Chung King. Anyways, this is a beautiful one. Only an edition of 20, pretty low edition for 24 Tezos. So anyways, just really cool artist. So and you warm up to her. Like, at first I didn't know what to think, and then the more you see it, the more persuaded I become. Out of Istanbul, by the way, where there are so many good artists. I mean, Aksin is out of Turkey, Hedi Rocket is out of Turkey, Ezra Eslin. Like, Turkey is arguably one of the hottest, if you asked me what is the hottest country in the world for digital art, I would probably say Turkey. And that might not be the first thing you might have thought of. But that's probably what I'd go with. So anyways, continuing on, we got a lot to go through, and we did really well with being disciplined with the clock last time, so I want to keep that. Just a comment from Sabato Visconti, and we were talking about editions and pricing and this idea, and I was sort of suggesting maybe Sabato was mirroring what happens sometimes in the contemporary art world, where you'll price the final 5 or 10 editions at higher prices. And so anyways, he responded to that awesomely. Adrian, great program, and thanks for the shout out. I didn't know that art galleries did the same price levels with their prints. In other words, that they adjust according to how many you have left, in other words. I found that listing a few editions for 30 to 50% of the original price after selling out is a good low-key way to control the secondary market floor. I think flippers are generally good for overall liquidity, but there are a few peeps who hustle on Tezos is to collect editions for, say, 5 Tez, only to immediately flip them for 7 or 8 Tez. So true. I mean, we see that with Ezra Eslin. They're selling for 24. I mean, it's just get the quick 2x and run, and they know they'll sell those for 24. Given the purchase cost and artist royalties, these flippers only make a few Tez per flip, and they distort the market. Those sales may as well go to the artist, in my opinion. Takes longer to sell out a drop, but in the end, you cultivate more serious collectors. Curious how others see this dynamic. Cheers. Well, cheers back, Sabato, and always great to hear from you. I'm all for it. Really, I think it makes a lot of sense, is my take. You might as well up it, because you might as well collect the money instead of a flipper. I mean, the flipper doesn't care about the artist, do they? I mean, and as we've discussed here, and as Sabato is saying, they do provide liquidity. So flippers aren't all bad, because at least it kind of creates a market of sorts. But I mean, that's pretty generous, right? That's a pretty generous interpretation. Really, they're pretty much just kind of getting in between the collector and the artist and taking a chunk for themselves. And what are they really doing? Because they spend all day on Tezos. Now, again, no, if people want to do that, it's part of what makes Object great, is it is free. And so Sabato, I think, is free to control the market the way he wants to as the artist. He prices it. So to me, it's all good. And frankly, it looks like you are stumbling onto, maybe that issue does exist in the contemporary art world, and maybe that's why they do it there. Like, you might be kind of going through a similar track, perhaps, So anyways, if anybody else has comments on this, feel free to weigh in. I say all good and makes sense to me. Maybe I'll do that if I put out an edition of 20 or something. Maybe you sell the first 15 and then you just hold on, and then, okay, it kind of makes sense. So anyways, Charles AI, I thought this was just an interesting comment. For more context, I went through a multi-month sales desert at the beginning of 2022. I was glad selling a piece for 5 Tez, right? So he's just talking about how, the ups and downs, the booms and busts of being an artist, okay? And that is the nature of being an artist. It's sort of like when you're hot, people can't get enough of you. When you're not, you sit on the work and life kind of sucks, or at least you just push through, okay? So I was glad selling a piece for 5 Tez, but I pushed on. Don't quit doing what you love because of some exterior factors you have little control over. It's so true. You can't control whether people are going to buy your work. Embrace the process and the now. Yeah. So anyway, and another thing is like, yeah, like things, and in a year, Charles AI, like he's selling fabulously right now. He might not be selling fabulously in a year. You don't know, right? So all sorts of things can happen. Trends change. Who knows? So anyways, I thought this was just a kind of a good illustrative point to cover here. Rare. So Rare has been doing very, very well. Now, before we get into some of his sales here, which have been awesome, questions from a conversation I had a few days ago with OX Inc. Traditional art shows multiple pieces after months of work, and NFT space one at a time. Which do you prefer? Would you like to see a bigger cohesive body of work at one time? Could the wallet handle it? I get why we do one piece at a time in this space. Everything is sped up. No need to get a physical gallery to look at everything. Plus, it satisfies the artist and collector need for immediate gratification. Thoughts? So, yeah, just very quickly on this. My sense is you don't fight the mechanics of the way the market wants to be. In other words, like I spent 5 years of my life trying to design the ultimate website, and 2005 to 2010, and what I was doing was fighting the way that, say, WordPress or Tumblr wanted me to make a site, and I kept on trying to modify it in ways that I wanted. In a sense, the financial equivalent is don't fight the Fed. So, and my kind of take on that is don't fight the internet as far as building a website. And here I'd say don't fight the NFT scene. If the NFTs, they want kind of a stream, and just as we were saying with Charles AI, if you don't put out work for 3 months, you kind of like the beauty of the NFT scene is how quickly you can kind of shoot up. But the other side of that is how quickly you can basically be forgotten. So if Rare, say, took 6 months or even 3 months to put out a work, it's not that people would forget. But all of a sudden, all that momentum that he currently has, as we're going to see, you could argue would be lost, okay? Especially in this scene. Whereas in the contemporary art world, because it's kind of physical shows, you'd be still seen as having that momentum. But online, it'd be like, where's this guy been for the last 3 months? Is he still putting out work? Did he quit being an artist? So anyways, interesting. We're about to look at some more. We're going to look at Rare's market here in a second. I just want to highlight this. So we looked at this work here, this earthquake. It went for a lot of money, 5.6 ETH, which is $9,200. So congratulations to Jeffrey DeCracy. That is a very nice sale. And there's a bit of a bidding war here. So that's, again, healthy market, super rare. That token is at like 12 cents. And again, not financial advice, and there's a billion of those tokens out there, and there's a lot of people sitting on a lot of Rare. So I just have what they gave me in the airdrop originally, like whenever that was, about a year and a half ago. But I look at the price of that token, I go, if we get a crash, and again, not financial advice, and who knows, I haven't done anything. Anyways, Haiti Rocket, Manifold XYZ Genesis. So he's put out a work on Manifold. Okay, Real GM, a classic Haiti title here, again, out of Turkey, and awesome work here. So kind of playing on what I almost want to call like video collage. He has a series like this, but that's more pixelated with kind of like Mortal Kombat characters and different. This one's a little bit, as he calls it, Real GM high vision. So this is kind of like higher resolution version. Anyways, he just released this on Manifold XYZ, edition of 23 for 0.23 ETH. So a rare, not the first, but a rare Haiti Rocket limited edition on Ethereum, HaitiRocket.eth. So how cool is that? And also, Sean Luke, I think a buddy of Haiti there, he sold out on his 7 of 7, so a limited edition on Manifold for 0.42. I mean, Sean Luke has a very good market here. And it's funny how many skulls we see in this scene. You're going to see a few skulls in this episode, which I think is pretty interesting. So anyways, nice work here from Sean-Luc again, and 7 times 4, 2.8 ETH, and then you're going times 1,500, let's say. This is real money, probably more than people are making at their jobs, for their monthly salary, the key is to do that regularly, and that's why it's almost like, and just again, with the speed of the NFT scene going, it's sort of like you don't quit your day job until like things are really, really happening for you, because it's kind of a, what comes fast can disappear quickly too. Continuing on, Neurocolor, whose work I've been seeing, I just find it quite interesting here. And again, you got the skull, kind of this neural net type imagery in the background. Wild. I love how the colors here, this kind of pink and blue with this kind of neural theme. It feels neural. So I just want to highlight that. And I'm not sure if we've looked at this. I feel like the title is familiar. Maybe we looked at this like a while ago. Archaeology of the Future. Good title. And kind of has a real, modern feel to it, shall we say, for lack of a better term. Uxine. So we looked at this work the other day. So it did really, really well. Okay. Also out of Turkey. Think about that. I'm not trying to do this. It just happened this way. We've had 3 artists already out of Turkey. So Uxine did fabulously. Again, this is at $1.10 Tezos here, 666 to 551. So basically, let's call it 5,500, probably close to $6,000 with that 10%, $1.10 Tezos, $6,000. Thank you very much for this edition of 11, maybe even a little more. So pretty impressive. Okay, so this market again is hot, and he put out this. I thought this was brilliant. Now look at the date here, January 20th. First of all, great image, right? Using his use of GIF and distortions, pixelated distortion. And I think it's a really original use because it's basically a different composition that he puts underneath. He uses GIFs a little bit different than, say, Xcopy. Like he'll put a different composition underneath, which I find interesting. We saw that in the computer, he'll put like a few, right? So so what was I going to say about this? Right, the date, okay? So he said on January 19th when this was minted, he said, accepting offers. On January 20th, he puts out in the morning, he puts out a GM, so it's almost like a reminder of sorts, like, hey, remember me. So just to kind of like I think Uxine is very elegantly knows how to really bring in money. Like what I'm really impressed, one of the artistic things that really impresses me about Uxine is how he so elegantly brings in money. I think, and I don't know, maybe it was just random or what, but how convenient is that you say, I'm taking offers, they start to come in, and then on the morning of the next day, you have just a GIF that says, hey, good morning, everyone, because then it just reminds you, like, oh, isn't he a great artist? Maybe I should bid, right? And then so whether it was accidental or not, a brilliant, very smart situation there, okay? Rare. Year of the Robot. So, of course, it's the Happy New Year, Happy Chinese New Year to everyone who might be watching out of China or with Chinese background. I went to a Chinese restaurant actually on Saturday, and I didn't even realize I was like, what a perfect time to go. I found out the next day. It was like I don't know if you'd call it what their equivalent of New Year's Eve is. Anyways, I had some wonderful food this weekend. Year of the Robot by Rare. So he was taking offers, and very interesting. So this was put on Tezos, which he doesn't have too many robot dogs, Boston Dynamics dogs on Tezos. He accepted the first half, interestingly. And let me just see. I think he brought in let's just see what the offers. Here we go. Between 269 and 125. So let's just call that 200, 2,000. but maybe 2,300, let's call it. And then that's only half of them. So, and then he's keeping the offers open for another, I don't know, day or whatever it is, and they keep coming in. So again, no bear market here. So Rare is doing very well. And you can see also an offer for 600 for this work. Again, you're seeing that kind of Uxine effect a little bit. Again, you're seeing just more collectors on Tezos and the excitement. So yeah, so you can, Rare is doing very well on secondary and on Tezos. It'd be interesting to actually compare the Tezos and the super rare sales, because maybe Tezos is hotter right now. I get the sense that there's a lot of excitement on the Tezos network right now, as far as the art's concerned. Okay, so this came out as well. Again, a ton of interesting art came out this weekend. Gloomtube, so Insomnia. And how are we doing for time? We're 20 minutes in, so I'm going to speed up a bit here. So anyways, just a nice, what I'd call digital painting from Gloomtube, and just kind of a, classic kind of semi-dark work here. This went edition of 20, again, sold out in basically a minute. At 12, he keeps them very cheap. Yeah, it was gone in a minute. It was listed at 6:46 p.m. Berlin time, and it was gone right as soon as it hit 6:48. So it was like you had to be in the first 90 seconds to pick this up on primary. So Gloomtube continues to have a hot market there. Board Me Social Club, Pixel Fun. So this is interesting because he's typically, and we're going to see in the next work, kind of has more of a painterly digital painting sort of feel to him. But here you see kind of like the square brush, the pixel. So, and it's actually looks quite good. It's quite enjoyable, and you see it in here. So kind of like that rougher pixel look. Good game by Board Me Social Club. 1800, you see a smaller size, which you often do with pixel art. And this is an edition of 1, and what happened here? Accepted an offer of 25. So very reasonable price there. Red Room. Okay, so again, so it is pronounced Red Rum over here, as we were discussing in much earlier episodes. So anyways, just another surreal painting here by Board Me Social Club, kind of the wrestler mass, almost a reference to Gloomtube perhaps. The upside down McDonald's, which is a W, looks like Donald Trump is Minnie Mouse, and then Mickey Mouse, almost a Disneyland, and a rainbow the American flag is up here. Anyways, you guys figured out there's the rainbow in the background, and then some bananas here. So just an interesting work in the drapes. Another surreal work, digital painting available for 8, edition of 15. Now, the waffle, what do we call it? The waffle situation. Who is this person? What is the identity? Well, the waffle situation continues to mystify here, because now he is calling himself Teenage Wolf. Okay, and Teenage Wolf, the artist formerly known as Hasdrubal Waffle, an authentic waffle, put out a few works now. This is part of the Draw Raw. So those works that I think he's using, waffledraw.blogspot.com. I believe. And then so he did here a play on ABBA, calling it Abracadabra, and of course the great song SOS, and puts the date here. So anyways, just kind of interesting. So he put out a few of these works, and they went to auction. Like, they did well. Like, this one went for 57. Another one, I think, went for 69. This one was beautiful. And it went for a pretty, reasonable price. This one I thought was quite beautiful. What is it called? COPD. It went for only 35 for a 1 of 1. And here was another one. Now, how much did this go for? This looks like a self-portrait, maybe. Again, Teenage Wolf. And when he did that work with me in it, he kind of it looked like he was the guy with all the hair and everything. Again, we don't know anything. This one went for $69.69. So nothing but net. Sterner Wolf. So the mysteries continue over here. But went to Indio Robot, I think, for 70 basically. So not bad at all, And here's Human Kernel, and I believe this went for 20. Again, this looks like it was also made with that software. This went for 31 to Tajin Burkok. who actually picked up a work of mine actually the other day, that Kissinger piece, same guy. So human kernel here with just kind of a very experimental piece. I'm not sure if it's using, it actually looks like it's using other stuff than just waffle draws. This looks like something what they were normally using in the digital painting here. So the same idea though, a profile picture is a template to experiment and doing kind of one technique in each area. The hair will be a separate a technique, the backgrounds will be a different technique, and say the sweater or the shirt will be another technique. Continuing on, just with the painting, I was tempted to put this in the AI section. This is Yoain, who is a he, and he put out this new work, and I thought it was just a really nice painting. It seemed to fit more. He combines AI and painting, and it seemed to fit more in the painting section here. Nothing happens unless first we dream. And I'm putting, this sold for an ETH, by the way, and just this weekend. So nice, quick, you mint it on the 20th, and it sells the next day for $1,600 US. Not bad at all. It's a beautiful work. So, well earned. So Yoain is on a roll. And again, it's kind of like these newer colors that Yoain was working on. So yeah, so let's continue on here. Antonio loves high fashion cigarettes. Now this is from previous works. Now a lot of us are sitting on previous works. So that's cool. Just make a separate series. And how much did this sell for? Hasn't, I guess, waiting for offers. High fashion cigarettes. So interesting piece here. I sometimes wonder to myself, is it less collectible if a work is, say, from 3 years ago and that you're posting? It kind of feels maybe a touch less collectible, which is kind of interesting. And who knows? I mean, the work should be just based on the merit of the work. But I think there's kind of like a irrational bias that collectors might have towards something that was made now for some reason. I'm not sure why. High fashion cigarettes, digital painting, pretty nice size, JPEG file, and I believe this is a digital illustration. More illustrations available on Foundation. Bonzo, and I thought this was actually just kind of really interesting. I like the trading card kind of look to it. Kind of, again, just like an interesting portrait here, and the goldfish, and kind of Asian writing. I'm not sure if that's Japanese or Chinese. And the interesting logos in the bottom right. So just interesting. Happy Friday, fam. And do we have any music, art, graphic designer? Just on Foundation. No information there. And also along these lines, I think it's Japanese, but I have no idea. It could be Korean for all I know. Adelia has a new work, and let me just show it to you. I don't think there's any volume. There's no volume. So just walking through the city here, a nice little loop. Interesting clouds. And even look at the sun here. So very nice details here from Adelia. I also really love this stuff here, these colors in here, and this kind of like interface. I love how she puts text over top of her compositions too, and these kind of like, almost like, what do you call it, augmented reality. Like there's kind of an augmented reality feel to Adelia's work here with these hearts, right? I mean, that is, a lot of her work does kind of intimations of augmented reality. Year of the Rabbit. So again, happy Chinese New Year's from Astra Karma. Buy for 0.23 Tezos, so very low price here. And maybe Astra Karma was out for food too or something. So anyways, kind of looks like a dinner table. And some interesting stuff going on here. And continuing on, this was just another kind of work, again, looking from, like, it's from Asia. Joyce Liu, and this was just an interesting work I saw on Twitter. And what was cool is they showed the process a little bit, and look at how good like the draftsmanship is. Very nice draftsmanship. Just looking at the clock here, guys, I am staying on top of things. And then makes all these different versions. So just pretty impressive, frankly. And then ending up with this, which is pretty good looking piece. Very original. So I imagine that would sell well. Does that person... OpenSea and Joyce Liu, form function. Maybe it's on form function. And another work, and we've looked at Orkan Isayev before, Good Morning Web3 People, and just these kind of sci-fi, kind of looks like sci-fi, but with retro colors, these muted, almost like it's on print, but beautiful, interesting works. Again, kind of sci-fi. Other digital illustration from Flora Marquez. And we've been looking at her illustrations that she's been putting out. And again, always putting these kind of nice little kind of messy brush marks underneath, which just adds so much. And again, she's the artist that does all those stamps. And this one, I think she gave away to previous collectors. No, this one was sold for 10, only 10. Maybe this one was given away. I think she gave away, maybe it was this one. Was given away to a previous collector, so this kind of ladybug person. And again, you just got to love that little gray brush mark underneath. Continuing on, so we run through this, the paper crane mental block. So again, kind of has collaborated with Louis Osborne before, this kind of geometric abstraction, very nicely done, has a very strong market. Beautiful, it doesn't look like white underneath, which is interesting. And just very nice color there. 6,000 by 6,000, huge piece. Offers are coming in at 69. Have any sold? Accept offer from 111 to 70. So on 15, so again, you're looking at maybe 80 times 15. You're looking at maybe $1,000. Not bad at all. Mental block 11. Dan Control continues to kind of outrage. And I think this is super interesting what he's doing here, because I think he's really challenging his collectors. And so I can't ignore it. It was just like those ones where he stretched to the side, taking the cell phone and just stretching it. And this is just kind of outrageous. Is he mocking the collectors even? I mean, these are the kinds of questions I ask myself. And maybe he's just having fun. But anyways, so you got to like that kind of freedom and just there is some outrage here in a good, and what I'd say in a good way. I think it's interesting. And he's very conceptual. So as you can see, so boing. So the lighter is boinging around the image, around the composition. Yuri J. with more experimentation. We have a few experimental works here. Look at this, and look at how kind of great it looks big here, and all this noise. And this was put on Foundation, I believe, listed at 300 Tezos. We'll see, and just all sorts of digital, for lack of a better term, noise, what I call digitalia, this sharp contrast, almost looks like finger painting here, digital finger painting, and then patterns, which almost looks slightly 3D, on and on. Challenging colors. Let's just look at the market here. And listed for 300, and we'll see if it's sold. It's still available, okay? And Rustic Digital Art. Now, we know Rustic from these cropped Marios here, right? And so what's going on here, which maybe you can't see, I can barely see it. These are all tiny little cropped Marios. So this very experimental series continues. And what is this called? Look at the sky. So the Marios are stars. These weirdly cropped Marios are now stars here. Buy for $425. So the challenging art continues from Rustic as well. He put out a tweet, which I thought was worth mentioning to accompany this piece. In a lot of pieces, the cropped Marios represent the forces and elements of nature. It seems very organic to me to represent them with such a digital expression. Every time I get to start pressing that Control V, I feel so cool. Thanks for all the support, eager to keep working. I wouldn't have been able to make this stuff without the influence of artists I admire. For the newer compositions, I must thank my idols, myth, and working class. I think both out of Argentina, as he's highlighting here. Now, this also brings up another huge issue, which I've kind of alluded to a little bit in the past, which is how we consume so much art here. But part of the enormous amount of art that we're consuming here is we're being influenced very hard, like very strongly by each other, by just consuming so much art. which also, I think, creates a robustness in this scene and just like really creates strength. Because a lot of us, again, it's kind of like as a much earlier episode, it's like the rise of the artist collector. And sure, artists have collected over time, but I think we're getting much more collecting now from artists than before. And I think this and checking out, because of the nature of this platform, almost how I started this show with this notifications, it's much easier to track other artists and see what they're doing. This all adds up. So anyways, Santiago with another experimental abstract work, which is incredibly interesting and completely his own, recognizable as a Santiago. Digital painting PNG from SVG from Stable Diffusion output. So continuing the series. Buy for 8 on primary. Continuing on. Now this was interesting because this looks physical. I found this on Twitter, William Mapin, and we have a couple. Generative art. Okay, so this, I mean, it looks pretty impressive and it looks like physical work here. And there's another one. Look at this. Literally drawing with code. Generative art. So pretty interesting. I mean, this digital like code looks pretty similar to texture, physical texture. Bite by bit, and this seemed to go, you could almost put it in the same room as that Santiago, almost. Pixel works made by 1991 KidPix. So continuing with the retro software KidPix 1.0, DOS mode, and almost, again, kind of like the similar shape composition, but here an abstract of sorts from Byte by Bit. So very interesting. Let's just see. Maybe this was burned as well. I think it was burned, 0 of 0. Listed for 20 and burned. Interesting. I thought an interesting piece there. Lorna Mills with a new GIF in her classic kind of hard-edged, pixelated edges with the strong colored background. Just kind of a strange work. Pleasant Pat. So interesting kind of work from Lorna Mills, as usual. Buy for 75. So I guess that's sold out. Let's just quickly see. Yeah, sold out at 15 on primary, and there you go. Okay, Spider. So very interesting work by Ed Marola. Just kind of a fun composition, right? And it looks like, I don't know if that's Ed or just the character leading a spider through, and this daddy long leg spider with this kind of, almost JPEG artifact pixelation. Very, very nice textures here. And we're going to see in the next piece, and almost like artifacts here, JPEG artifacts showing up. Very more challenging work, isn't it? Like, to me, this is challenging. Like, again, these JPEG artifacts, it's like the obvious thing to do would be to make sure that all your pixels are perfectly, rendered here, and that's not what's happening. Here's another one by Ed Marola, kind of a sweet one, Love, and it almost looks like, a pregnant woman or something. Anyways, purple work. Here's another one called Sky, and this one I wasn't sure what to think with the colors, but then I zoomed in, and I think I brought it up here. And I saw this and I was like, oh, I want to buy this. I just really like the texture, this digital pixelated texture. I thought it was just original, actually. And so anyways, a take on impressionistic skies, one could argue. Continuing with skies and pixelation, mech.txt, interesting title, Safe. And yeah, so just playing with this framing device here, this almost looks like a dock. Is this like a lake of some kind? And then these are clouds that are reflecting in the water? Not sure, but interesting work. Buy for 1,000. So what happened here? Sent maybe to people who bid, perhaps. Not sure. Or maybe previous collectors, who knows? Continuing on, just another kind of interesting pixel art piece that I saw on Twitter, Wahini, and I am on the clock, my friends. So just a nice tree work, pixelated tree work. This was gorgeous by Capin. I almost started with this. This is a gorgeous, just the color is so overwhelming. Again, kind of has the power of an impressionist painting by Capin. A beautiful, I think it's called Home, so one assumes it's like a sunset. Either way, it is gorgeous with this tree and everything. Yeah, home again, the end. So one assumes it's the end of the day. Buy for 18 on secondary. Here's another pixel art piece that was very interesting. Let me get the music. It's kind of a wild piece here. So, who is this by? This is by Tezos. I feel like we've seen their name before here. Fix the mic. Just kind of a weird piece, hey? Continuing on, Sabato, he actually airdropped this to his top collectors. I was lucky to get one. Orb, kind of almost looks like a sun. This is a drawing exercise number 1 that he never released. And so you see kind of a rougher drawing exercise. And yeah, just sent to collectors. So very cool and interesting to see his first one. And then he released another one. So he's now on 51. That was number 1. And this was just released. Edition of 111 for $250. And this is called Pixel Daemon. Special edition commemorating 5,000 followers on Twitter. So just kind of interesting. Select assemblage. And just kind of interesting. Not exactly sure what's going on. Almost looks like a Windows or a Microsoft logo here with the butterfly. But hard to say. I guess that's the demon there. Interesting, kind of mysterious work. I'm always the last person to understand what's going on in these works. Guard of Deathmere. So we missed a couple of Popple works. This one is new and kind of dark and interesting. Again, has that kind of larval alien feel that we've been seeing in this series. And this looks like some sort of early, form of life. Again, reminds me of Alien. Guard of Deathmere, buy for 17. I believe that's on secondary. So again, these are going really quickly here when they go on the market. See if this loads up quickly. Yeah, they went for 9, and it took, I guess, an hour. Was it an hour? 11:51 was the last sale. Yeah, a little over an hour, and 25 were gone. So again, $250, not bad. Here's the other one that I missed, Smoker of Krypton. Sometimes I don't get all my notifications. The gas seeps into his lungs, a numbing elixir of death, his thoughts consumed by madness with each labored breath. So some beautiful words there. Smoker of Krypton. Interesting. So again, another kind of mysterious kind of portrait of a monster of sorts. Work by Slave Angel, Loop Trip. And it looks like, you can see here, let me make this bigger. See the mushrooms here. And so the skeleton eating the mushroom, and then when it does, everything goes crazy. Edition of 30, did these all? Yeah, now only available on secondary. Continuing on, Tom Bombadil. So he put out this one of one called The Prophet, and looks like a pun on financial markets. And because it is spelled Profit, at auction for 200, and he got a bid. So that is impressive. So Tom Bombadil doing very well. I really like this red on the purple. That looks great. So anyways, extremely prolific, which is impressive. Datura with another kind of animated abstract kind of glitchy work here. So this is now available for 10 on secondary. How much did it sell for on primary? Let's just look quickly. For 4. So another interesting kind of edgy work, aleatory objects. And Bit by Bit also doing this abstract here called Huff. So this is with PC Paint 3.1 and just experimenting. A lot of experimentation here, isn't there? I mean, this is bold work, I would argue, a lot of what we're seeing here today. This experimentation, again, shows maturity, I would argue, in this whole digital art market. Side hustle. Using graphics too. So again, more retro tools, right? And just, again, this is just an interesting abstract, right? Using these kind of, vintage software. So nice colors to buy for 4, edition of 10, 3 left. And a couple of works from Tezos of these, let me just load it up here, of these glitched out furniture pieces. And I was looking up close. These are very rich. And he was saying there's almost, in that YouTube comment from, I think, last show, there's almost no computer used. So these are, it's almost like an analog synth, like the visual equivalent. These are very rich to look at. So it's pretty nice, and people like them. They're all selling out. Editions of 30 are selling out pretty fast. This one's an edition of 25, a future dresser, now on secondary for 15. Let me just hit the play button here. So there you go. A dresser. So I'm loving what's the name of the series? Tomorrow's Modern Home Furnishings. Tomorrow's Modern Home Furnishings. Brilliant. And there's a couch, lest we forget the couch. So these are popular, and I can see why. Again, extremely rich visual textures here. And just the color and everything. Let's see if we can get this going. And here is the couch. Should we try one more time? And then we're going to run through the rest of this. There we go. You can see it here. So there's the couch and these beautiful glitches here. So again, super rich. Speaking of rich, Kurt Hustle Collective, happy birthday, Kurt Hustle Collective, of being 1 year on the hustle. So they are fabulous. I was looking at their work, their old commercials just last night on my projector, and they're incredible. So congratulations there. Ellie Lowe with a trash work. I think this is the second tarot card. And again, trash artists. You can see the trash bin right here. So the wildness continues with Ellie Lowe. And what is next? And Sky Goodman, a impossible sneaker, where again he uses several softwares and kind of glitched out, and just a lot of different software. What does it say here? Some AI using artificial intelligence, some AI kicks, pixel sorted, cobalt and gold mids. So anyways, looking great over there. Buy for 12, which is pretty reasonable on secondary if that's still available. Eslin has put out some works and they look great. Thankfully, she has finally minted her works here, and look at how good they look. So I believe this is AI. And let's just look. AI Prism Sky called Heavens, already on secondary. This sold out, I believe, for 2. So this is great because, Eslin collects a ton too. So now she's getting a little bit of money in her coffers to help her collection. I mean, she pull in 40 Tezos here. Not bad. Not bad at all. This is great. Or at least 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, anyways, enough. Maybe 20 Tezos there. Prism Sky number 1's already on secondary, and I can see why. Look at how good these look. So that's exciting. And, she's saying on Twitter, kind of a thank you to the show, thanks for encouraging. And I think anybody who's watching this, you've never had a better time to start making art. Okay, you have AI, where you don't even need to know how to draw. And maybe Eslin totally knows how to draw. I don't know. But I'm just saying anybody can do this now. And you have a platform that's totally open. So it's kind of a unique opportunity, and you might as well go early. So anyways, good work, Eslin. Looking forward to seeing what comes next. Alina Speaking Tomato. So she minted this work by Marina Amadova. Look at how good this series looks here. This is that work that was on Foundation, and I believe I brought it up. Alias Orbis, we looked at this, okay? Look at how good these all turned out. So I don't know if this is generative art mixed with AI or what, but this series is sensational. I almost started with this today. It's a very good looking series, I think. And look at how many there are. Just kind of they look effortlessly made too. So super interesting. And now a floor of 0.1. Is there any... Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure, but we know Marina uses a lot of AI. So really impressive. Again, using this collection mode on Foundation, and continuing on Mr. Shapeless, kind of playing more with abstraction here and with geometric shapes. So I thought that was an interesting kind of development here for Mr. Shapeless. Variation on the landscape here. And here, Tokyo Love with a really cool, this looks like it was AI made, Apple phone. It looks like an Apple IIe in the form of a phone. And finally, Sophie Leaf, GM and Happy Friday, So another cool work here, AI work from Sophie Leaf. And here, Polly Jojo, he was saying he's using works from the Voynich manuscript. He's using the Voynich manuscript, which a lot of you might know from Terence McKenna, that famous essay he wrote in the Archaic Revival. The Voynich manuscript is a manuscript that nobody has been able to decipher, as far as I know. Maybe they've deciphered it in the last 20 years since McKenna died, but apparently he's using the Voynich manuscript as part of the source of some of these works, these AI works, where see here, it's like the Toy Story guy. So he's combining that. This one turned out pretty well, I thought. And I think we have another one with Darth Vader. So just kind of interesting, hey? Like this kind of medieval version of Darth Vader, Obscura Patris. And I think we looked at this one already. Anyways, and there we have it. Thank you once again for joining me. And until next time, everyone, take care, be creative, and we'll see you then.